You're listening to the Golden Heart Wedding Photography Podcast. We're your hosts, Lindsay and Michelle.
Our mission is to connect creatives, learn from one another, and grow together as a community. In today's episode, we chat to Arno and Nina from Bear Photography. We talk about how to price yourself as a new photographer, working well with others on a wedding day, and so much more. Let's get right into it.
Welcome to this episode of the Golden Heart Podcast. Today we are speaking to Nina and Arno from Bear Photography. We're so excited to have them here, and we know you guys are going to just love this podcast. Let's dive right in. And guys, why don't you introduce yourselves? Tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got started in the wedding industry.
Cool. Hi guys. Thanks for having us. We are extremely excited to be here. My name's Arno, de Beer, and this is Nina de Beer.
Super Afrikaans.
Yeah, very much Afrikaans. And we are a Bear Photography. So our name is we got it from, my name starts with an A, Arno, and their long name, Arno Nina, is also A. So it's A, and our surname is de Beer, so it's A Bear.
So oh, cool. I always wondered where it came from.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how awesome. We got it.
Awesome.
And so we started, or Nina started, way back when she was in grade 7. So she always wanted to be a wedding photographer. That was always her dream.
My uncle is also a wedding photographer, so that's where I saw everything. And
so she always wanted to shoot weddings. So she used to dress her Barbies in little wedding clothes and shoot their weddings in the garden. And then she actually went to study education, onderwijs. And we met at university. She did a short course at the Creativity Centrum here at the PIC. And it basically just taught you to shoot manual with your camera. That's how, so she always wanted to do weddings. And I was in a band, way back. And I always liked to sort of tell the story behind the scenes. So I had a camera. My dad also actually shot weddings in the 80s for a short period. And I learned to shoot on his Nikon F3, so I still have it. So I always liked shooting, and I always liked to sort of tell the story behind what actually is happening. So then I met Nina at my brother's wedding. She actually did my sister-in-law's makeup for her wedding.
Oh, cool. It was a very informal type of wedding. I don't do makeup for weddings.
At my brother's wedding, she told me she's doing this photography course. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing that too. No ways. We'll see each other. We'll have to see each other once a week.
Were you really doing it, or did you kind of
No. And then on the Monday, I actually went to the guy that was sort of facilitating everything, and I told him, listen, I need to enroll in this photography course. And he's like, oh, sorry, it's full. You can't. I'm like, dude, no, come on. Please help me out. And he actually called the photographer that was presenting the course, and he's like, there's this guy who wants to still do it. And she was like, no, it's fine. You can still join.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then,
So you essentially have that photographer to thank for your business and your
yes, mate. No, we owe her a lot of credit in our loopbaan. And then we started shooting together during that course. So we did a lot of dines at the university, the NEAS, and graduation shoots, and then that sort of just it just naturally evolved into weddings.
Okay, wow. So were you guys doing Were you doing something else while you were shooting those, or what? Was that your full-time gig shooting?
Yeah. So I actually studied town planning.
Okay.
So I'm a town planner by degree, but I don't do that. So during the week I also work in IT. So I've got
awesome.
like a week job, and then so this is how the setup works. During the week I work, and Nina does all the editing, and we sort of handle the admin side of things together. So as an email or whatever comes in, whoever sees it first, I guess, attends to that.
Okay.
And then she edits, and then we shoot together over the weekends.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys have been doing this for how long now? How long have you been doing it?
I guess.
Toe Femke gebore is.
Yeah, so I think like 6 years. Yeah, maybe, but not like officially. I think professionally it would be more like 5 years, but we started out like 6 or 7 years. Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I know that you guys have also in the recent years taken on a big role in like the education of new photographers with your workshops and all of that. So that's why specifically we wanted to ask you guys more about like educating photographers and one specific thing that new photographers can learn from you guys. So with that said, let's hop right into how would you guys advise new photographers on pricing and where to start with their pricing. Just, what do you guys tell people at your workshops when it comes to pricing?
Pricing is such a weird thing because I think the whole money subject is maybe a bit touchy for everyone, but for us it's not that big of a secret or whatever. Like we are super, maybe just before that. So just with educating photographers, we love that, and we feel like the more we can share our experiences and whatever we've learned or little tricks and whatever, the more we put out the good vibes, the more it will come back to us. So we are an open book, and we say this at our workshops as well. Like you can DM and ask us literally anything. If we don't, or if other photographers aren't going to tell you, it's going to be somewhere on YouTube or on someone's reel or whatever. So we love sharing. But with pricing, I think it's a weird one, because a lot of photographers say that you need to sort of know what you're worth and charge that, and
your expenses.
Yeah, and look at these are all your expenses and just make sure that whatever. But I don't think there's like a golden rule with pricing. I think
you have to feel it out.
Yeah.
Like when we just started photographing weddings, we were in Poch.
Yeah.
And people here are very different.
Yeah, like it's a different market to Joburg or Gauteng in general, or the Cape or whatever.
We did like weddings for 8,000 Rand, and it was like 10 hours, engagement shoot, photo album, and I think we just covered like the traveling for.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, so I think two things. The one thing is you sort of need to feel out, and I think that's the best way to put it. You need to feel out where you fit in, and inquire with photographers that you sort of think are in the same space as you are, and just say, hey guys, this is Arno. We just like to get a feel for your pricing. We're happy to share whatever with you guys as well.
Not every photographer obviously won't share that with you, but just find the ones that will.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the biggest thing for me is it's market related. Like it's just like buying a bakkie. Like the Toyotas and the Hiluxes in whatever model are sort of the same, and you need to find out who is your Toyota or your Ford or whatever, and make sure that you're sort of in the sweet spot.
Yeah, and I just think that. People shouldn't necessarily think that because you book like a super expensive photographer that photographer's work is going to be like the best. Because we've actually had a few couples that booked a wedding photographer that was like over 30K for the wedding package, and they nearly didn't get any images because the photographer wasn't actually professional, but they thought like, okay, no, it's like 30 grand, so it must be like the best. So that's also an important thing to keep in the back of your head.
I suppose the opposite could be true as well, because I know a lot of
Definitely.
people are also undercharging, and I think sometimes that can also create something in clients' minds where they're like, well, why are these people so cheap? Like, are they very new? Like, is the work not as good? Because unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever camp you fall into, people do associate higher, like more expensive
Yes.
with better quality. And so I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
you're so right. It's finding that balance and finding your Toyota,
Exactly.
finding your
Yeah.
competition and kind of setting your bar there.
Yeah. And
I think just for like a couple trying to choose their wedding photographer, I think word of mouth is something to go on, and maybe look at reviews from the photographer's page or referrals maybe. So there's a lot of stuff to like work on.
And I think the important thing is just to not overthink it. It's not like this massive science of these are all the reasons I'm priced this. It's just market related.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I also think, I mean, you get weddings where they spend so much on everything and then still go for a budget photographer because they don't feel that it's maybe a necessity. And you also get weddings where, I mean, they spend nothing on anything except the photographer. So, I think photographers completely overthink it, and there will be a market for you. It doesn't matter what you charge in terms of, you guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think it does come with, I mean, maybe that's another kind of good question to follow up. How did you guys move from charging 8,000 for 10-hour an engagement to where you are now? Like, what was your process in increasing your price?
Well, I think obviously like people started booking us. Like we saw, wow, people are booking this like crazy. And obviously we can't shoot
that many weddings. Yeah, so I think two things happened for us. We went to a few meetings when we arrived in Gauteng, and the couples were like, "But why are you so cheap? Like, it doesn't make sense.
What's the catch?
Your photos are like pretty or whatever, but why is it so cheap?" And we actually lost a lot of bookings because we were not charging enough.
But that was when we just moved to Centurion, so...
And then we sort of realized, oh, flip, we need
we're
to...
fake. Gonna run away with the 8,000 rand.
So we just sort of gradually started increasing it. And we made, obviously, you make a lot of friends in the industry, and we sort of put our feelers out just to figure out where we fit in. And for the most part, it was an open conversation with everyone. So, and since then, I think our biggest thing has been how many weddings do we want to shoot every year?
Yeah.
And we also say this at our workshops. Every single photographer, no matter how much I'm going to say what I'm going to say now, it's going to happen to them. All photographers reach a burnout year. Like they just take on
everything.
A crap load of weddings, and in December or whenever the wedding season stops for them, they're just like,
wow,
we hate weddings, we hate people, we don't want to do this. And that's sort of when you realize, okay, flip, I need to charge, or I need to up my pricing because I can't take on this many weddings. And I actually remember...
And other people love shooting like...
Yeah, exactly. So I think it depends on your appetite. Like if you can shoot 40 weddings a year and still love weddings at the end of the year,
and still breathe,
that's amazing. Then I think I've got crazy respect for you, but we can't do that. So our pricing has been trying to figure out how much work we can take on every year, or at least how much do we want to take on. Yeah.
I love that, and I think you touched on it, moving from Potch to Gauteng, and I think location also really does play such a huge role, not just because of maybe the budget of the kind of mass of the area, but also in terms of competition and how many other photographers there are. Because I mean, I know like in Cape Town there are tons of wedding photographers. I mean, I know Joburg as well, but we always feel like we joke, we're like, everyone's moving to Cape Town because I mean, it's lovely to shoot here, but we're like,
because it's amazing.
Are there going to be any more weddings to shoot with all these wedding photographers? But I think I think it is knowing the area. So like, I'm not actually sure about, maybe you guys can let me know about what it's like in Joburg, but I know here we get a lot of international clients. So you have the benefit of, you know, pounds or dollars that people are converting, which also helps. Whereas maybe someone that's based in Bloem might not have as many international people. Yeah, Mish, you can maybe tell us a bit because you started
definitely no international in.
No, in Bloem there's nothing. No, I mean in Bloem I experienced a lot like what you guys said with Porch. I mean, we were charging what I felt was really a standard in the industry in Bloemfontein. And then we didn't get bookings at all. And then I reached out to a bunch of photographers there. And I mean, they were charging half of what we were charging. I thought that was ridiculous that they were charging that. But I just think, look at where you are and go off of that. But Lindsay, also just what you said now, I think it's so relevant because I don't feel that in Gauteng we really get international clients, where I do think in the Western Cape it's much more. So,
So everyone wants the vineyards and...
Exactly.
Mountains and the vineyards,
Now, I think for us, when we moved to Centurion, we built our client base. So now enough people know about us. So where we are isn't that much of an issue at this point in our photography journey that much anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, so we moved back to Porch during lockdown, so we're actually in Porch now.
Okay, awesome. Cool.
But
we still only advertise in Centurion, and we still charge from Centurion. But we're just living here.
Yeah, so I think our sweet spot is Joburg, Pretoria now. And
that's not
and
too
that's
far
where we
away.
advertise the most. And it's not.
Ja, maar so uur en 'n half is nie so bad
exactly.
nie.
So for us it's worth it. Well, okay. So for us it's worth it to just stay here. With our kids. I mean, the school and everything. It's amazing. We love Porch.
No, it's much more chill than the city.
And just driving through every weekend, or not every weekend, most weekends is it's worth it for us.
Okay, so another thing that goes along with pricing and what to charge is literally what to put in each of your packages. So for me, a big thing was to find the balance between how many photos to give and where to give a photo album, second shooter, all of that. So what advice would you guys give to new photographers, just what to put in each package to convert into bookings?
Don't put an album in each package.
That's a big
Don't do
thing.
that. Only one. Of a top up.
Albums are a bit more
cash cows.
So I think just in terms of the number of photos that you deliver, that comes with time. We know for a 10-hour wedding we can deliver this many photos, and we would even know, same as you guys, I'm sure, on the wedding day when you haven't shot enough, or during the reception or whatever, maybe it was raining or whatever, and you didn't get enough coverage during the getting ready or whatever is happening, then you would know, okay, flip, I need to shoot a little bit more to just make sure that I deliver the amount of photos. So I think that comes with time, just knowing how much you are comfortable with delivering. But for us, a good starting point was, I think it was 600 photos for 8 hours. But what we say on our packages is 600 plus photos.
Yeah, we don't cap it
so if we
paid for this, we don't do that.
Exactly. So if we shot a gazillion photos on your wedding day and it was only 8 hours, we definitely deliver more. because it's your photos, we're not going to do anything. We don't want to hold your memories ransom. So we deliver whatever we shot on the day, but with a minimum of whatever we set on the package.
Yeah, but that's interesting because I've actually, in my most recent package pricing guide, I've actually taken out the number of photos that I give because I felt like people always would, like there would be a point of concern, or it would be a question that people had. And I'm like, it's a minimum, it's just an estimate. Where some weddings you shoot less, some we shoot more.
Exactly, it does happen.
But I just say to them, I'm like, I don't cap it. I'll take out duplicates and I'll give you all the ones that I think are the best. And that seems to be working for me at the moment, because I found
I can imagine that's like.
Yeah, because also I'm like, it felt like so random for me to put a number to it, because I'm like, I never stuck to that number. It was always more, or like sometimes it was less, but it was more just based on, like you said, the wedding, or like
quality,
the weather.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I felt like sometimes if I'd said 500 photos and maybe I shot like delivered 450, I'd be like scrounging for an extra 50 just to kind of make that number. Where I'm like, actually, I didn't need to. They were kind of throwaway photos.
That's actually super true. And people then.
But some people are really like.
Yeah, exactly. They want the number.
They're like, I want to know how many photos are we gonna get.
I think I actually like that.
I find like the people that want to know how many photos they're gonna get normally are the clients that have a list of other photographers that they're comparing me against, and they're looking at the packages. And I'm like, if your reason for choosing me is because you're going to get 30 more photos than you're going to get with Michelle, then I'd rather you choose someone else, because that's not why you should choose me. Yeah. But I mean, it's different strokes, different folks, and that's just something I thought was quite interesting about the whole number process.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So what else besides, so obviously, do you guys always shoot with the two of you, or do you have packages with just one photographer?
Well, I can say this. Actually, all of our investment options have two photographers. Like I know many photographers got like, okay, the first package is only one photographer, or maybe the second one is like you've got an option for a second photographer. But from our first investment option until the last one, so our investment options are named after the office. So we've got the office, the office investment option. Then we've got like a Jim and Pam, and then we've got like a Michael Scott, and then we also got like a Dundee's combo. But each one of them is like always two photographers, and mostly we shoot together, obviously because it's like our thing. But sometimes there's like something that's happening in our personal life. Okay, maybe one of the children are sick, and then we can't shoot together, but we'll always be two photographers. For
and
us,
especially
it's
now
with
COVID, with all the weddings that came over to this year,
it was really rough.
We had like quite a few weddings where we couldn't shoot together, but we always like to shoot with two photographers.
Yeah, and also that's also something we covered in our workshop. It's just like always have like someone with you, even if it's just like an assistant that's not necessarily shooting, just for like that moral support or being an extra eye. So I think that will also be like a tip for new photographers. Just like if you're going to a wedding,
just have someone who's your backup.
Someone to get some canapes for you while you're doing family photos.
I think that's so interesting. Yeah, because for us, I kind of feel a bit opposite, but I think it's also because, I mean, you guys are a husband and wife photo team. It's not photo and video where, I mean, Gustav and I, we will go together, so I still have someone there with me. But when it comes to second shooters, for me, sometimes I feel that the person just didn't quite get what I needed. So I did work with someone the other day, and I asked him to actually do the decor, and I mean his photos are beautiful, but they just weren't enough. And then you're kind of like, but now it's my responsibility. I have to tell the couple, sorry, like I'm not gonna be like, hey, my second shooter, like you're gonna have to be responsible for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and just for me, like, I wanted to ask you guys, when it comes to like the editing and choosing the photos, don't you feel that having a second shooter, and I think Lindsay, you can also like say what you think about this because you also always second or have a second, but don't you feel that there's just way too many photos? Like, that's how I feel when I have a second shooter. I'm like, now I have 6,000 photos to go through, and how am I supposed to choose?
That's definitely
We are.
an issue.
We are
Yeah, like, how do you guys
chronic
handle that?
overshooters.
Oh, it's tough.
So we've been working on that because it is definitely a thing. Like when
We
even
both overshoot, so we're
Yeah.
actually used to it.
yeah, so we overshoot like crazy. So it actually happened the past weekend when I dumped all the photos, there were 8,000 photos, and I'm
Oh
like,
no.
And
oh my
I
gosh.
have to go through everything.
Oh wow.
Arno's
This is
like, oh,
crazy.
it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Here you go, baby.
Yeah.
8,000 photos. Enjoy.
Oh, word.
So
Yeah, no,
I
I'm the
think
same. It's a lot.
it's a very valid point. And I don't think I've got the answer for you.
But I think for me, I've got like a culling rhythm by now. So for me, it doesn't matter that much anymore because I put on series or whatever in the background while culling. And I sort of know, okay, these are the type of photos that I like. So I'll focus here and then I'll select there. You know,
Yeah. And I'll get constant feedback of stuff that I've missed and what I need to improve on. So whenever Nina gets in the editing sheet, she's getting exactly what she needs.
That's amazing. I mean, so from my perspective, so I shoot with second shooters, and so I've actually changed my packages for next year. I've got some smaller packages where it's just me for smaller weddings, and then like bigger weddings is 2 photographers. But I find, so obviously I'm just hiring freelancers, so no one's like, I don't employ anyone full time. And I think like the number of photos that I use is kind of proportional to how much I pay second shooter rate almost. It's like I pay, because at the time, I think assisting rate in like commercial photography was like 10% of what the photographer was getting.
Yeah.
So it kind of works out the same with second shooting rate. It's like 10%, and I use about 10% of their photos. And unless they are shooting the groom getting ready by themselves, then you use more. But it definitely, the number of photos that you get is huge. But I actually started using a program this week. I got an email from someone telling me about this new, it's like an AI culling program. Yes, so there's 2. So I tried out the one, and I think we'll actually do a podcast on it once I've given it a bit more of a try. But the one is called Aftershoot, and the other one is called Narrative Select. And what it does is it actually like uses AI to cull through your photos. So it will separate them into folders of like eyes closed, blurred, duplicates, and then selects. And so you can then just go through those folders and see like, okay, should I take out? How cool, right? So I did one the other day. It was like 8,000 photos with mine and my second shooter, and it got it down to 3,000. So it's still a lot, but then you can just link it into Lightroom, and then I culled through those 3,000. But it is still like, cool. It's like teaching an old dog new tricks, because I think I also have my method of how I like to do things, where I I've sectioned it all up, and I like to see all the decor photos together, it's kind of going to be a bit of a mind wrap to get around that. But I think it can save a lot of time if I can get it working how I need it to work. But anyway, we'll talk more about that.
In the next
few weeks.
week.
When I've given it
Crazy.
some trials.
And then don't you feel like you just want to take only your photos? Like, that's how I feel sometimes when you saw second shoots with me, he hates it because then he says I don't use his photos. Like, how do you guys do that?
This is a competition. And whenever Nina posts so Nina does our Instagram as well, and whenever she does a post, I'm like, so who did that one? But I think it's like a healthy.
It's great that you can't tell.
It's good.
for us it's a healthy competition because I like to, whenever I take a photo and then I'm like, oh, Nina's gonna love this, and then a lot of the time when we edit, she would like. She would take a picture of like, and she's like, oh, you nailed this. And I'm like,
a lot of times we are shooting like the same subject, but from different angles and with different lenses. So it's altijd lekker to see
something.
what's coming out of whose angle.
Yeah.
So Nina tries to be as unbiased as she can be.
Hey. That's good.
Okay, so obviously you guys are a team and you live together, work together. But what do you think are keys to a successful working relationship? And also, what other advice can you give to other photographers about some of those keys that you can bring into other working relationships? So with other vendors and service providers at a wedding.
I think if it's a husband and wife duo, it's very important to, number one, just like each other, because I know a lot of people are like, don't you ever like get tired of shooting together?
Yeah,
or aren't
actually,
you like fighting all the time? And I don't know, for us it's like the opposite. We actually
We love
really
it.
like shooting together and working together. So I think that's important to like each other. And for us, because like you all know, like weddings are on weekends, so you offer your weekends for these weddings. So for us, it's nice because we still get to spend time together. Whereas if I was like maybe the only photographer, if I were the only photographer, then Arno would be at home with the kids, and I don't think that would have worked for me. So now at least we get to spend some alone time.
And we always say like the ceremonies are like mini couple
like
counseling.
Couples counseling.
Like we always we take
from across the room. I'm like,
Listen.
It's talking about you.
Exactly, So we like doing it together just because that's what we do. But I think what we've learned from working together and with working with other vendors is that people are just people, and whatever vendor you're dealing with is just another person, or he or she is just another person. And I don't think in the best way.
Yes.
And I don't think you should take anything too personally on a wedding day coming from someone because like weddings it can be freaking crazy. Now it was raining the whole day. There's only 10 minutes couple shoot, but the videographer also needs to get his stuff. And if he's like sort of bumping you a little bit or just to get that shot, don't be like, what the F, man? No. You just quickly wanted that shot or whatever. So I think it's been like being humble with whoever you're working with has been our biggest lesson, because maybe Nina does something on the wedding day and I know it's like she doesn't mean it personal or whatever, but I am also aware that people can maybe take it up differently, and I've sort of realized that someone saying something to me is the exact same thing. It's not a personal thing. They just need to get the shot or whatever. So,
but obviously it's not easy to work with every single person. So obviously we've got like a vendor list we send out when we send out our investment guides. Like we've got people doing flowers, and we've got preferred videographers, and that's nothing personal. It's just that maybe for videographers, like we know, okay, this person is like shooting the same as we are, or okay, no, this person is like very especially with videography, like you've got like, even if the end product is like more or less the same, the way you are doing it is very important.
I think that's also like a numbers thing. Like if you shoot 100 weddings, some of the people you work with you will end up not liking, just because that's the way the way it is. So, and we've actually now started doing video as well.
Well, not we.
Yeah. My brother does video, and
That's
we've
cool.
We like opened up a wing for him.
yeah, and
Oh, awesome. And so under a bear, under
Yeah.
your name. Oh, amazing.
exactly.
And that's working very well because
Because we like him. He's not. I've got a very good working relationship with him. We've been working together for 30 years. So we don't take it like whatever happens. And he's like exactly on the same wavelength as us, just in terms of
shooting style.
creativity and shooting. So,
That's awesome.
but yeah, I think the most important thing to remember when working, even if you don't like that person, it's not personal.
smile and wave.
Yeah, it's just
Yes.
and on the wedding day, you're there to serve the
Totally.
bride. Like you want to get the best possible shots, photo or video, whatever you're doing, and it's not personal.
Totally. And I love what you said about being humble, because I think like sometimes that can be such a downfall for a lot of people, is like coming in as maybe photographer and you're like, okay, like sometimes couples will tell me like they've hired someone that's maybe very entry level for video and they're like, you need to take priority as photographer. But I'm like, I can't. I mean, how do you say that to a videographer?
Yeah.
You have to be humble and you have to be like respectful
exactly.
of
Not
each other.
always easy.
Yeah,
No.
obviously.
Always easy.
But I think it is
and-
important because, like, if you're not humble, then it's also it can come off like not very nice to other service providers, and I think like especially with wedding planners, I'm like, that's, as photographers, those should be the people that we get on with the best, because they're the people that give us a lot of work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good piece of advice. So thank you guys for that. I think our listeners will really appreciate that. And I think that brings us to our next section of our podcast. So we have a recurring little segment called Expandogram, where we ask you guys just to explain the behind the scenes of one of your Instagram photos. So why don't you guys go ahead and tell us about your photo?
Okay, so our approach to a wedding day is a lot more fly on the wall. I don't want to say documenting, because that's like the
Generic word.
yeah because everybody documents, but it's a much more offhand approach and a fly on the wall approach, if I can say it like that.
Yeah, but with couples, obviously it's a bit different.
Yeah.
We'll set up the moments, like having it flowing.
And
Yes.
what we try to achieve on a wedding day is art. So that's a big thing for us. We want to create art for our couples. And with that, you have to sort of approach things differently as far as possible. So this shot that we showed you, I think Nina, you were busy with the bridal shots, and there was a wind blowing, and this little
It's like a
kantgordijntjie.
daai deurskynende.
Yeah, it was blowing in my shot the whole time, and I was like, oh, here's a nice. This actually looks cool.
Let's try it out.
And I just threw it over the lens, and I took the shot. And afterwards, Nia was like, "Oh, this is freaking amazing! It works so well with my edit." So I think for us, moments happen during a wedding day, and it's like it becomes an intuitive thing after 50 or 100 weddings. Like you just know, you can sort of feel something's going to happen, or when things normally happen. But we like to
Create art.
create art with those moments.
Yeah. And actually, like I used to paint. I did like oil on canvas and everything.
She's actually amazing. Like she's a freaking crazy artist.
Okay. But now, obviously, I don't have so much time for that anymore. So I really get excited when it's time to edit a wedding. Because I like to, I think on our Instagram, people will think like all of our photos are super moody and warm, but obviously not the whole gallery that I'm delivering will be exactly like that, because not all of the photos work with such a feel. So for me, I edit the troue, but there's always like a few photos that really excite me, and I'm like, oh, I kan ietsie lekkers doen met dit. Try something different with it. So So that's what we did with that photo.
Yeah.
If you look at the raw, you will think it's it's definitely something I think that program of you, Lindsay, would have thrown out.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that one would have made the cut. But then I saw it
Yeah.
like, okay, let's try something with it.
Yeah.
And
That's
the
awesome.
couple,
like
the
that.
couple actually also like, oh,
Yeah.
we love this photo so much.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's also my favorite part when we deliver a gallery. We also like once I edited a confetti photo, like you guys will know, you've got like
Yeah.
a few confetti photos, but not all of them are going to be like exposed correctly or whatever.
Yes.
And we had a wedding, and then there was like a photo that was. I think it
Yeah,
was
so
a little
they
bit
were-
out of focus,
yeah.
but the couple were like moving into the shade, into the sunlight,
Yeah.
into the shade. So it was like kind of tricky. And then there was like this one photo where they actually kissed at the end, but they were in the shade, and the people
Yeah.
in the background were
Like it was
correct.
exposed wrong, the wrong way around.
Yeah,
Yes.
but then I did edit the photo, added a few like vibes to the photo. It was actually for myself, but then the couple, that was like their favorite photo. So
That's awesome.
Oh, that's
was
awesome.
cool.
So Nina's editing and Nina's drive to just create with Lightroom and Photoshop and whatever, I think for the most part has been our biggest constant in our business. Like, and I'm not just saying this, like, obviously I work with a lot of people and like with weddings and outside weddings as well. But Nina's drive to continually improve or just push yourself as like it's such a massive thing for me as well, like in my personal life, just to have that mentality of going forward and pushing myself. And I think
That's awesome.
that's something in Nina's, like it's her heart. She doesn't just want to edit another wedding. Obviously 98% of a wedding you edit because it's the wedding, but there's always that 2% that will maybe influence the next wedding and the next wedding, and then you're like iteratively improving. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
That's awesome.
So on that, I think it's so cool the way you approach your editing, because I think a lot of people or a lot of photographers view the highlight of their job shooting, and then the editing can kind of become like the slog, or like, oh, it's something that they have to do. But it seems for you that editing is part of the artwork, and it's part of the creating and the creative process. So what does your editing process look like?
So usually I just edit the wedding in Lightroom. We don't use like a lot of Photoshop actually. I think most people will call it like retouching the image. But there's always like, maybe with the bride getting ready, there will always be a photo there, and then definitely during the ceremony there will be a few photos, and then with the couple shoot there will be a few photos that I will say artify or do something with.
That's cool.
So I will edit the whole wedding like normally, but there will be like a few photos. And even sometimes when I do edit a photo a little bit artistic, I would edit the photo normal and then duplicate the photo and then do something with that. So like the couple can have like I don't know if you guys know Melissa Ray on Instagram.
No.
Okay, well I love that woman, but she like inspired me.
Like she just does the most random things with photos.
and then someone actually, she made like a story about it and said someone asked her if she delivers these weird photos to her couples, like is her whole gallery looking like that or not? Because like there's in photography there's always this thing like your editing has to be consistent and it has to match
and
with
your
everything.
feed needs to have like a look or whatever.
So obviously that is important, but she said yes, she definitely gives the weird photos to her clients as well. She just inspired me to also to
Just enjoy the process,
to create something and not be afraid to share it. That's like
Yeah,
the point
that's
that I
awesome.
want to make. I found her on Photobug, so
Yeah.
Ah, nice.
you guys will know.
you guys post quite a lot in there. That's really cool. I think it's awesome.
We used to, but at the moment
Yeah.
it's so busy. I'm not getting time to do any of that.
Yeah, but I think when we started out, that was like a goal for Nina.
Yeah, it was
Just to
definitely
get
on
on
my
the
bucket
photo
list.
bug of the
It was like
Yeah.
photo of the week or whatever. I can't remember what it was.
massive breakthrough for me.
Yeah, but like
That's awesome.
we were looking for that photo
That's
of the
very
week.
Yeah.
And you've been on there quite a few times now.
Yes.
Yeah. We have been privileged to be featured.
Congratulations, guys.
Very, very honored.
Thanks.
Nice.
But you guys as well.
Yeah.
So I think the last question we always like to ask our guests is one thing you wish you knew when you started. So is there one thing that if you could tell your younger self a piece of advice, what would you tell them?
Yeah.
I think it will just be. I think most of the time people think like being a wedding photographer is like always very glamorous and you're like traveling everywhere, shooting international is like the main goal. But obviously, okay, this answer will be personal to each one, depending on where you are in your life. Like maybe for a younger photographer starting out who doesn't have a husband and kids and a dog at home, they would still want to do like international weddings all the time. But for us, traveling a lot is not ideal at the moment. So I think a lot of people think you make like these massive amounts of money, you're traveling around, staying in all the best hotels, but it's not always like that. So you have to enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, and I think just with that, just to be just be yourself with your photos. Like I think it's super easy, and I've fallen in this trap a gazillion times, and I possibly will in the future as well. But the comparing whatever or wherever you are with your photography and what you're shooting, the most important thing for us, and I've been recently saying this to myself a lot, is just to do what makes you happy. Don't think like if you want to be a dog photographer and you just want to shoot dogs because they are so fluffy and that's all you want to do, if that's going to make you happy, then do that. That's amazing. For us, all we want to do is we want to make pretty photos and document wedding days. And no matter what that looks like and what the end result looks like, if you are happy throughout the process, then you're nailing it. So I think that is what I would like to tell myself, my 22-year-old, 3-year-old self starting out in photography.
It's almost like redefining what success looks like. Because like you said, I think like going in, we all think, okay, we must do international weddings or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like
doing what if that's what you want to do,
by all
go for
means,
it. If you want to shoot internationally and that's all you want to do, go for it. But that is not what a successful photographer looks like. It looks like a happy person laying in bed at night smiling saying, I nailed this day. And that's what it looks like.
That's perfect.
Cool. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate
thanks,
your
guys.
time. And, it was so lovely to meet you both.
You guys were awesome. I really loved this
Virtually.
episode. I think it's going to be a great one.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Ella.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Gold and Heart Wedding Photography Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all our future podcasts.
You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram as the Golden Heart Podcast. Thanks for joining. Bye.